We should all expect for the Houston Texans to have some new faces in that D tackle room. Could Gracen Halton out of Oklahoma be that new face?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode is for Locked On Texans fans and Texas fans all around. I'm your Texans credential media member and football analyst, John Hickman, continuing with the prospects for Houston series, diving into the D tackle unit, right? And there are some D tackles that will make their money. Starting off this week, you got Lee Hunter, Peter Woods, Caden McDonald out of Ohio State, Caleb Banks out of Florida, 6'6", 230, Caleb Banks. McDonald, 6'3", 326. Peter Woods, 6'3", 310. Lee Hunter, 6'4", 330. Like, there are some D tackles that will make themselves some money between now and their pro day. But a player that stood out to me that I wanted to talk about a little bit more, Gracen Halton, defensive tackle out of Oklahoma. So stick around with me today as I look at his strengths, weaknesses, and what are some of the things that popped off his tape. And ultimately, would he make sense for the Houston Texans, who they got, 5 free agents at the D tackle spot? You know, they're going to have to make a decision. What makes sense for Houston? So that's going to be fun. Shout out to my everydayers from the Himalayas for making the Locked On Texan podcast their first listen of the day, and for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the land. Also, we got the draft. We also got free agency. Free agency is here, and so are we. Get from now until March 15th, go to the Everyday Club and get a free 2-week span of great conversation, great content. Use promo code free agency, no spaces, now through March 15th. Go ad free to keep this conversation going on Discord, and let myself and other Texas fans know who you like this year's draft. Now, Texas fans, it's important to look at the measurables, right? He's listed at Gracen Halton. He's listed at 6'2", 293. Could be viewed a little on the small side for some, but Alabama's offensive lineman Parker Brailsford called him his toughest matchup this year. Halton has been one of the biggest standouts of the NFL Combine. He finished with the third fastest 40-yard dash time among D tackles with a 4.8. Fifth best 10-yard split at 1.7. The best vertical jump at 36.5 inches. The third best broad jump at 9.6. The fourth best three-cone at 8.09. And the fourth best 20-yard shuttle. I mean, this dude athletically, he put on a show. And I think he increased his stock and he made himself some money. I don't know where he was viewed before the combine, maybe third, fourth round pick. Maybe you see him just inch up a little bit higher in the third round or maybe the back half of the second round. We know the Houston Texans have 2 second-round picks, so let's keep that in mind when discussing Gracen Halton, but any of these defensive tackles that are coming out this year. He sheds blocks very well, and he moves very good between east and west, and that helps him in terms of what also I think he does at a high level, which is dissecting runs and locating where the ball is. He does it at a good level in terms of reading if it's a read, is it a read option, is it an outside run, inside run? Do I need to look out for the play action? Is the quarterback on bootleg out, or whatever it is? His eyes discipline on the opposing offensive lineman and where the ball is. I think he has that in his repertoire, and he uses that at a very high level. Bending hips as well. Let's take a quick break and come back and talk more Gracen Halton on the Locked On Texans podcast. Also, Texas fans, before we do that, it's important to look at, if you've ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future. You'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep playoff run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. So visit fanduel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And as we're looking at FanDuel, it's also important to look at for all of my business owners out there trying to make it work through the chaos. It's easy to get lost in the chaos, especially when you have deadlines stacking up, your email inbox is overflowing, and that one position you have to still feel is open, sitting open, waiting for somebody to come in and save the day. With the pressures on, you need the right hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location, the whole nine. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. They go out there and find the right candidate for you. If you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes when Indeed sponsored jobs. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the noise, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Texans podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Getting back to Gracen Halton, I mentioned how well he does with his eye discipline, reading and reacting. There was a play also where he was playing against Tennessee this past year, looking at some of his tape. And number 10, the linebacker for Oklahoma, actually made the play. I forget his name off the top of my head, but how he made the play was just Holton taking on the double team with a split and sit, and the linebacker having the lane to come down and make the tackle, right? And these are some of the things that jump off tape when you watch him, right? And it isn't consistent. To be fair, it is not consistent, but he has those moments where, for more so of a finesse D tackle, he can play bigger. So when you see the measurables at 6'3", 293, and I say things like it can be viewed a little bit on the smaller side, he can play a lot bigger in moments, and it flashes at times. But if I would have to give him a superpower, it would absolutely be his ability to get off the ball at a high level at the snap, at a very high level. And this helps him in how he wins and how he gets after the quarterback. In his pass rush, he's always looking to get under the pads and drive. He looks to really be an impactful player in the passing game and not just a lame duck. And you really want to hear that. I think that's what made Houston D-line so special this year. Tim Settle, Mario Edwards, Sheldon Rankins, but between Tim Settle and Sheldon Rankins, I mean, I think they combined for 8 sacks on the year, right? Pressures was out of this world. They just you when you get a D tackle room like what Houston has with Raw Wright coaching them up and those two guys on the edge, everybody got their job, right? But that doesn't mean you can't do your job and more. And that's what makes Houston's D tackle unit, D line unit, altogether from edge to edge so special. 9 sacks in the last 2 seasons, 13 tackles for loss to go along with it. There is some bad. I think getting in and out of his blocks is a concern coming out. Even though he is quick at the snap with a great get off, his burst can die out at times, allowing for linemen to recover against his rush. And also notice his tendency to over pursue in chasing to make a play. But here's the thing. Houston has 5 free agent D tackles: Tim Settle, Sheldon Rankins, Fola Fadakowski, Daquan Jones, Kurt Hinish. Settle, who is coming off of an injury, accounted for 30% of the snaps shared. Houston has 4 D tackles who have played in 20% or more of the snaps played in 2025. And if you guys remember, Daquan Jones came in and just kind of got a lot of trust. They needed him to play, but he was also productive when he got to Houston. And so by the time we made it to the playoff game, you're looking at him playing at about 25%, 30% of the defensive snaps. And Houston will absolutely add young talent to the D front this year. It could be Banks in the first. This is a deep defensive tackle class, and Halton could be viewed as a sleeper in later rounds. Again, I think he's made himself some money this year with how he's tested. Remember, Houston loves to rotate their defensive tackles. That's what makes them a dangerous bunch. You got guys in and out, in and out, and that versatility helps. And Holton, very versatile in terms of alignment, A gap, B gap, over the tackle. At the 5 tech, Oklahoma moved him around. And if he's not bringing down the quarterback, then he's in the pocket, making it harder on the quarterback to get a clean look. That's just a part of his game. Holton had a 10.4% pass rush win rate, and I think that is his calling card at the next level because of his frame, because of his size, also a little bit because of his height. Do I see him being a stout run defender? No, he's going to make plays in the run game. And I think again, I go back to his split and dip. That's going to help him not get blew off the ball as often, right? Because when I was looking at some of his tape, one thing that I noticed was they would double team him a lot. And sometimes it worked. You know, you're not going to win every rep. Everybody's not going to be Aaron Donald and Dominic Sue coming out, right? And I would say it was a 60-40 win rate between the double teams when he lost compared to when he won. But when he won, it was a split and sit. And if he didn't make the play or get in the backfield, then the linebacker benefited from it. And that's all you can ask for, especially for some of the slender D tackles. Built a little bit like Mario Edwards. Okay, built a little bit like Mario Edwards. They moved around A gap, B gap, over the tackle a little bit, over the center a little bit. Like he's a guy that D'Amico Ryans gets his hands on, he could be special. Raw Wright in that unit gets his hands on, he could be special. But in fairness, we can say the same thing about Caleb Banks. We can say the same thing about Caden McDonald. We can say the same thing about a lot of these D tackles coming out because the coaching staff is just, chef's kiss. So thank you for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast bonus coverage. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12 and on Instagram at SomeSportsGuy. Until next time, ladies and gents, Texas fans across the nation, peace.